Hi everybody, welcome to the Tournament Center. This is Brian David Marshall here at Pro Tour Dragon's Base, and I'm here with one of the most winning players in the limited format at Pro Tour and Grand Prix competition, Chris Fennell. But we're talking about 60-card decks. Yeah. What's going on here, Chris?
I don't know how this happened. I assumed if I ever got on camera, it'd be for a draft performance, but you guys took away the all-limited Pro Tours, so I have to play Constructed now.
You know, you give a pro a platform, and immediately they start complaining. Okay, so we're here. You're in San Diego. What do? You go to the zoo. San Diego Zoo. This is the deck you're playing. You're playing this. Sharfin's playing this. Mark Eiler's just playing this, and you guys are all really like on the top tables. Yeah, we're all in top 8 contention. Sharfman is 5-1 with the deck. I'm 4-2. Eilers, I believe, is 5-1 now. He just lost his first match with the deck. We had one other player play the deck, Lewis Laskin, helped design it, and he was, I don't know what he did this round, but I think he was 2-3 going into this round. Okay, so now when you talk about a zoo deck, that means Naya, red, green, and white generally, but this actually comes from a Gruul deck that you were playing in block prior to Dragon's Maze. Yeah, I played, I just borrowed 4 Domris from a friend and built this Gruul deck on Moto just so I had something to play, and basically it was just a bunch of 1-drops and Legion Loyalists and Slaughterhorns and Rampagers. And then, ironically, what happened is I kept running into the card Armed and Dangerous, and so I thought maybe it was good and constructed. So I jammed 4 Armed and Dangerous and 4 Domris in this deck and started playing it, and we went like 16 or 17-0 in matches on Moto. Okay. And what happened was the Esper deck stopped playing all the Shock and Gate lands. And once they stopped playing the Shock and Gate lands, we could only get them to 4, and we couldn't kill. We literally. You were counting on those 2 Shock lands. Yes, I needed 2 Shock. I needed them to shock themselves twice to win. So we would only get them to 4 instead of 0, and so we changed this. Spoiler alert: there is no Armed and Dangerous in this deck. Right. Let's take a look at what we got. Start out with the 1-drops. Tell us about Experiment 1 and Dryad Militant. Well, Experiment 1 is just the best 1-drop in the format by a mile. He becomes a 3/3 very easily in this deck. He can become a 3/3 on turn 2. I'll talk about that in a second. But also, he regenerates from Supreme Verdict and then becomes a 2/2 again. So he's always just a constant threat. Just the best 1-drop in the format by a mile. So in a lot of ways, like Voice of Resurgence, in that he can, leaves a 1/1 behind after a Supreme Verdict. Yeah, yeah. And then the Voice of Resurgence token actually evolves him to a 2/2 immediately. So like if they wrath away our Voice and this guy, we have 2 2/2s in play. We play a guy. We basically have 2 3/3s attacking for 6 on the following turn. Right. And this guy's just easy on the mana because we're a red, green, white deck. So pretty much everything except 2 basic mountains cast this guy on turn 1. He's just a 1 mana 2/1. That's very self-explanatory. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Take a look at. We have an array of 2-drops. Yes. So Voice of Resurgence. This is one of the benefits of putting white in the Gruul deck. Yeah, the card's just so good. I mean, it's amazing. It's aggressive mirror matches, and it's mono red. It's good against every single deck. But it's also just puts control in impossible situations. On turn 4, you can play your Voice and then use your Rampager pretty much free reign because they don't want to give you a 5/5. So it's just too good to not play. It's literally just too good to not play. I think we all understand the Burning-Tree Emissary Firefist Striker plan. This has been in the mono red deck. It's been in the Gruul decks. But what I'm curious about here is this odd split of 3 Gore-House Chainwalkers and 1 Brushstrider. Okay, this actually, we spent a week talking about, conversation went into these 2 cards than anything else in the deck. We have to have 4 guys that evolve Experiment 1 to a 3/3 on turn 2 off of an Emissary. So we knew we were playing 4 of these guys in the slot. Now, there was a lot of considerations. Like if you attack with a 1 toughness creature and they play Advent of the Worm and you Rampage, your guy dies. Because you become a 7/5. A 7/5. Yeah. However, and there's also a protection from green creature in the format, so this guy can't attack into that guy, whereas this guy would gladly trade at any time. But we figured out that the biggest problem was that Detention Sphere. We don't want to have 2 of the same creature in play and just get blown out by Detention Sphere because we don't draw enough cards to pick and choose what we're going to play. So we decided to split the difference, 3-1. We think Chainwalker is better. I won't point out that that's not actually splitting it. But right. Well, we think Chainwalker's better, so we just hedged a little bit. Okay, good answer. All right, let's go ahead. Let's take a look at what else we have in here. So you've reserved a separate room for Boros Charm and Ghor-Clan Rampager. Tell us about these 2 cards. Basically, every control deck is dead to one of these cards. You just hope you have the one that they're dead to. And if you have both and they never tap out, they're dead.
Because what happens is the double strike mode on this mechanic basically functions as the armed and dangerous.
Choose your modes.
So you can double strike your guy, like they'll tap out for a Jason minus it, we'll only have 4 power, like a 2 power creature in play after the -1, but we can double strike it and hit them for 12 with a Rampager and just kill them. They're always at 12 or less.
So you blood rush this, +4/+4 and trample, and then so it's a 6, and then with double strike,
it's
you're
12.
doing 12, and it didn't look that way when the turn started at all. You probably think you're safe.
Exactly, and especially on a Smiter, because a Smiter it's even more, I think it's 14. So, but the biggest thing about Boros Charm is that it can regenerate from Supreme Verdict. So when they cast Supreme Verdict, if we have 3 guys in play and we have Boros Charm, the game just ends on the spot.
Your creatures become indestructible, and you get to say they tap out.
They tap out. You have free reign. You have 8 power in play. They have nothing. You know, and it's
like they're changing their pants or something, and someone hits the fire alarm, and then they trip and fall on their face.
Yes,
something like
that.
Okay.
Yes, yes. I don't know what that feels like, but I imagine it's similar.
Me neither. So Loxodon Smiter, Domri Rade, obviously can't be countered, big deal.
He's just huge. I mean, he's huge.
Really?
He's 3 mana for 4/4. He attacks for 4 damage, and he can't be countered. Like, they can't syncopate him, so he always gets our experiment 1 to a 3/3. He attacks for 4 damage. And honestly, we just couldn't, if you can't beat him, join him. All our guys were 3 powered, and we couldn't beat this guy, so we just jammed him in because he's that good.
And then what does Domri Rade do for you?
Okay, this is the card that lets you beat control. I talked to a lot of other pro teams and asked them why they didn't play this deck, because I think it's the best deck in the format. And we have an amazing record, and everyone's like, well, we just couldn't beat the Esper matchup. And every single time I asked them, I said, well, did you main Domri? And they're like, no. It's so easy. All you have to do is play 3 guys in the first 2 turns and play a Domri. Unless they have 2 Wraths and 2 Detention Spheres at that point, they can't win. Because you're upping Domri, drawing cards, and you already have a board presence. Even if they verdict away and you don't have a charm.
Right. The +1 ability of Domri lets you go toe-to-toe with the control decks in terms of replenishing your card, your hand. Usually they cast Supreme Verdict and the aggro deck has 1 or 2 cards left in their hand and they're kind of out of gas.
Yeah, well, the other thing is we're so much more threat dense than they are. We're playing 21 lands, they're playing 27. So we have 6 more threats in our deck, plus we're drawing 2 cards a turn, and then this guy ultimates all the time against them because they can't pressure him.
And then when he ultimates, you get an emblem with creatures you control of double strike, trample, hexproof, and haste.
Yeah, it turns everything into a chroma. It's absurd. Yeah,
problem for the control decks.
Yeah, you can't target my stuff. It all deals a million. Your Aetherling has to block. If I have, it's absurd. His ultimate ability.
An interesting point, by the way, just going back for a second to Ghor-Clan Rampager.
Yeah.
Ghor-Clan Rampager may be the ideal weapon against an Aetherling.
Yeah, it's perfect because you attack into you just bash right into their Aetherling, and then if they block, you Rampage, and they can blink their guy out to save it. But if they blink their guy out, they take the 8 trample, which usually at that point is lethal in the game.
Right.
And most of the time people don't play Aetherling unless A, we're already going to lose because they've taken complete control, or B, they're about to die and they need to play something.
So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for them.
If they want to let it trade, I'm more than happy to deal 2 and let their Aetherling go to the bin. If that's
Let's go to the next slide here and take a look at some of the mana in your deck. So Stomping Ground, Temple Garden, Sacred Foundry. You're taking a lot of damage to get your white.
Yeah, we don't actually care. I would play 24 if I could.
Okay. Keep moving along. Looking at the basic lands. We have 1 Selesnya Guildgate, 2 Boros Guildgates again, more white.
Yeah, well, at the last minute we added a Boros Guildgate and went down a mountain for a forest so that we could cast all of our 1-drops on turn 1. We didn't want to have 3 mountains and not be able to cast an experiment 1 on turn 1. And all of our white sources have to be dual lands because we have to be able to cast Burning-Tree Emissary on turn 2. I don't want to have any draw in this deck. They can't cast Emissary on 2.
Okay, let's quickly flip through the sideboard. We see Mizzium Mortars, Aerial Predation, Selesnya Charm, and next we'll just keep powering through this so we can let him go play Assemble the Legion, Unflinching Courage, Gruul War Chant. That's an exciting one, and another Domri.
Yeah, another Domri, yeah. It's just big, powerful cards, that's all.
Awesome. Well, it's been doing really well for you guys. You're like the little team that could.
We are. We're climbing up the hill.
I hope you just keep saying, I think I can, the last couple rounds. For Chris Fennell, this is Brian David Marshall signing off from the Tournament Center.